Hey everyone, it's Wednesday and I'm just driving home with wonderful traffic again. This time from class. Man, I hate traffic. I would go on a rant again about that, but I did that yesterday. So, today, I want to talk about commodity and consumerism and America. So I have a Victorian Lit class it's basically what the structure of it is the idea about commodity becoming commodity and how we attribute value to objects and where value comes from, and very Marxist discussions and stuff like that. And it's really interesting, and I'm really enjoying the class, although I just get really bored sometimes, not because of the class, but because myself. I just get bored because I'm not focusing and I'm tired and I have other things on my mind like writing and all sorts of stuff. But anyway, so we've just been talking for the last couple of weeks about commodity and what makes commodity, and today we just talked about the Great Exhibition of 1851, which is absolutely fascinating event that took place, and nothing has ever been the same in comparison as to a event of commodities or objects brought together to be turned into commodities by humans. And we're always talking about this stuff in relation to Victorian era, but I can't help but always relate it to now, which I think a lot of people in the class do, and I'm assuming our professor does as well. But I just can't help thinking about how back in the Victorian era, even though they had this beginning of commodifying their existences, they still had somewhat of a separation of life and commodity and consumption, in that they didn't just buy things for things, they bought things and made sure that everything was used. Maybe that's a rash assumption that I'm having, but I just look at society now and people literally go buy things not knowing what the object is or what it's used for, and end up just throwing it away. And I think that's what makes it different. That's why it's so hard for me now, because back then I feel like people bought stuff and they might not have known what it's used for, and then obviously a lot of the time didn't know where it came from or who made it or whatever went into its production, from the materials to the process to it being there in their home. But when they bought stuff, it didn't just get thrown away like stuff does now. I mean, they would buy a table, they had that table forever. They would buy whatever, they just built another wing to their house so they could have more room, whatever the case may be. But I think of consumerism now and how disgusting it is that we just buy these things because we see these images of objects that have become commodities, in that they've gained value somehow in comparison to other images of objects that we've seen. And there is something in our brains that we are trained, there's not something in our brains, we are trained that there is some innate desire in us that we need to have these objects, whether it's a new phone or new clothing, a new car. Even we commodify each other as people with appearances and who's pretty and who's not, and who's fat and who's skinny and who's got acne and all this different stuff that we all do. I'm not saying I'm not affected by this, because I am, and that's what bothers me about it, is that I am in this circle of people. This entire America is, and a big part of the world is, really, I would like to say. Even going down to Mexico, and I feel like they have that same mentality as well, in a different way, but they do have a commodity mentality. And it's really scary that our society has become so disconnected from the reality of what objects are and the reality of ourselves that we can't understand our world or define ourselves unless we have other objects around us to define things for us. That our personalities become the objects that we carry around with us. And we were talking about Jonathan Swift in Gulliver Travels, and his idea that he says that all things imaginable are nouns, and that nouns are objects, and if that's the case, then we shouldn't need language. We should just carry objects around with us all the time. We can completely eliminate communication, and we're kind of like halfway there. I mean, we have Facebook, and we have Twitter, and we have blogs, and we have cell phones, and we text. We don't even talk, we text, and we email, and those aren't real things. I mean, I guess technically they're more ideas than objects, but still, they are mediators for communication. And even this that's going on here, I am talking to a camera. I'm not talking to anyone. People that drive by me look at me and like, what is that fool doing in his car holding up that little white box and speaking at it? I probably don't say speaking, they probably say talking or yelling or something, But there's this disconnect now that we have between each other and ourselves that's facilitated by this consumer mentality and not objectifying, but turning objects into language and definitions for human existence. And it's really, really scary, and I'm really terrified to see where things are going to go. I mean, I hate economy as it is. The idea that economics and blah 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 blah, that we need things to in order to sustain life and stuff like that. So I understand that there has to be a certain amount of capitalism and, you know, entrepreneurship, and people have to buy things to keep the society together, and I understand that. But going from that to how we are now, there's a huge canyon between that, a huge void that separates consumerism from societal needs and necessities to keep society going. And it's really just freaks me out. So every time I go to class, I think about these things, and it's just, it's horrifying to see where we are and where we're gonna go, and how that it's not just that that's what's gonna happen, but people are okay with that, and some people don't even see it or notice it or have any inkling that they're part of something bad. And I know a lot of people probably don't agree with me, but it is a bad thing. Consumerism is bad because it's about pride in yourself, and that, like, I deserve these things, and that I feel better with objects and not better with people. And that can't be good. There's nothing good about that. So anyway, that's what's on my mind today, and it's probably going to bother me for the rest of this semester, actually, because I'm going to go to that class twice a week. We're going to talk about consuming objects and what the Victorians did and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's just, it bothers me. Leave me comments below. I would like some comments. No one's commenting. I see that there's views, but there's no comments. The whole point of this, for this dialogue to exist, there has to be two ways of communication, and so far I'm giving you all these wonderful tidbits of my knowledge and my theories and concerns and whatnot, and I'm getting nothing back. Nothing back. You guys are just being ridiculous consumers of my entertainment, and I don't appreciate that. I would like to have a participation here, so that way I don't have a negative perception of you guys being these awful consumers of YouTube, and more that we're friends, huh? Can't we all just get along? No, but seriously, I want to know what you guys think about consumerism and buying things. If you think anything at all, if not, you can make any other sort of comments you so choose to enunciate onto my commenting page below here. Whatever. My words. Jeez. Anyway, heading home. Gonna go have some dinner, and then I'm gonna write for 4 hours while the wife is gone, and hopefully I'll write for 4 hours. I'll get some good stuff out. And I will see you guys tomorrow. And gals. Sorry, you people. Let's be sexually, politically correct, whatever. Alright, peace out.